Hello, welcome to this session. My name's Wendy Foxkirk. Some of you met me in the last session. Assistant Professor in Management up at Weber State University. And I'm going to introduce our speaker, who's a fellow professor in a business school, but here, rather than at Weber State, and also teaches management. So Dr. Cindy Briggs earned her PhD in organizational leadership and also has a master's in business, higher education, and public administration. She's an assistant professor at Salt Lake Community College, where she teaches in the business management department. She's an active researcher and presenter in leadership, and also how non-profits and for-profit management ideas work together. That's a burgeoning new area, and is going to make a big difference on business in society, hopefully, so they become more ethical. In addition to her teaching, Cindy also is a very active member in both her college community and in the community at large. She's served on several local and national boards, along with memberships in organizations such as Rotary and Junior League. I love Junior League. Anybody else involved in that? Fantastic organization. When she isn't teaching, speaking, or writing, Cindy enjoys reading and going on adventures with her family. She and her husband Scott currently reside in Sandy, although they're getting ready for a cross-country move to Indiana this summer with their children, Jordan 9, Reagan 7, and Jackson 5. So I introduce to you Dr. Cindy Briggs.
Hi, how's everybody? I hate podiums. I'm sorry, I have to kind of wander, so you'll see me wander more. Is everybody having a good day? Yeah? I'm in a grand theater. Do you know how a little intimidating that is? You know, professors, you get a class of 30 and you're like, hey, I have a big class. Angela said, hey, you're in the grand theater, and I kind of had a momentary panic. Do I have to present or, sing, dance, do other stuff? So I'm glad you're here. We are going to talk today about building your mentoring toolkit. Because what we're doing here is talking about how mentoring is important. Whether you're a mentor or a mentee, both of those things are so important, but you have to have the tools to enable you to do that. So that's what we're going to talk about. But first, I'm just going to kind of start out fun because, people read bios about you, and I was bored, and it's about me. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's just boring. That's really not me. So I'm going to kind of go beyond the bio a little bit and just give you, some fun facts that are Cindy. I'm from Kentucky, and so my accent does come out. I will say y'all more than once during this presentation. If you count, I've been known to say it 41 times. I think that's my top. So it is a word in Kentucky, is an acceptable word. And I love all things Kentucky Derby, because again, being from Kentucky. I hate guacamole. I hate it. And the reason I put that up there is because my husband asked me the other day, why don't you ever make guacamole? I'm like, because I hate it. And, I'm like, if you love it, you can make it, but I've tried. I try. And what's really odd is I will eat avocado and stuff, but I don't like guacamole. So it's just a weird little fact. My first job was when I was 15. The day after I turned 15, I started working at a popcorn store, and which is the reason for my love of all things popcorn. Any flavor, you put anything on it, I am all over it. It is a great thing. I was told I couldn't have any children. I was told about 6 years ago that I couldn't have any children. They just looked at me and said, you know what, we're sorry, you can't. But they were wrong. They were wrong. When people say you can't, don't ever believe that, because can't is just a word. My two daughters are through the wonderful blessing of adoption from foster care, and then in the process of adopting them, I got pregnant with the third one. And hi, welcome Jackson. And so I went from 0 to 3 in about 4 months. And I'm still waiting for an IRS audit, because when I listed 3 children that year, I'm still waiting for them to come track me down. So if there's accounting people in the room that want to give me free advice on that, please let me know. And I have had amazing mentors in my life. And that's probably what makes me so passionate about mentoring topics, because I have had just some great ones at different seasons for different reasons, really, is why I've done this. I've put some pictures up there. They would be really embarrassed to know I found their pictures online. Gotta love Google. But it started off with Brother Fitz there was our college president when I was in college like a million years ago. And I got the opportunity to work with him, and he mentored me through some great projects and got me in my love of nonprofit management. That's really where it started. And then all the way through, I mean, the women up there, different times for different things. And then Dr. Mahoney there at the end, he's now a college president, but he started as my mentor for my dissertation about 16 years ago, I believe. And what he didn't know, and what I will tell you, when mentoring can end, not for him. Like, he's still on my speed dial. He's still on my, I text him with every kind of comment. And so I've had great mentors, and so I'm very passionate about what mentoring can do and what you need to be prepared for, because I've done mentoring well, and I've done mentoring really, really badly. And so I want to share kind of both of those with you, give you both sides. So one of the things that I like to start with is we need to be a mentor sandwich. Anybody ready for lunch? And so now that big turkey sandwich looks really good. We need to be a mentor sandwich. And you're getting a handout, and that's one of the things on your handout is your own mentor sandwich. And I want you to think about this for a minute. In our life, we should always be mentoring someone. We should be mentoring someone. We should be the mentor and have a mentee. And then we should always be mentored by someone. Because believe it or not, we're never too old to be mentored. I'm coming very, very, very close to 50. Too close that it scares me at moments. But I think sometimes I'm just like, okay, do I need a mentor older than me? Not necessarily. A mentor can be somebody my age. Currently, I'm kind of working with somebody I'll tell you about in a minute who's 8 years younger than me, but I see her mentoring me in some things that I want to be stronger in, that I want to get to know better. And so you should always be this sandwich. You should be in the middle. And on your sheet, I want you to be thinking about that. And I put 1, 2, 3 on each one. So mentor, mentee. If you're already in mentor relationships, write those down. If there's somebody that you're thinking about, like, they would be a good mentor, or, I would be a good mentor to them, write them down in your box just so you have it. I don't know about you, but we go to a lot of conferences, right? And you think, okay, I heard some good ideas. I heard some things I might want to do. And then you kind of forget because you go back and you get busy and you're doing all your other things. And so this will just be your reminder of those were people that I was going to touch base with or see about getting into a mentor relationship. So remember that. And I would like to say I made that up, and I didn't. But I'd also like to credit the person who said it. But I heard it so long ago that it's kind of just become part of my head, and I don't know where I heard it. And so I can't say it's an original, but it's something that I really like. The other thing that we are going to talk about today, and this is thanks to my 5-year-old, I brought a toolbox. So I know, how cute is that? I tried to take my husband's, and I thought he was going to wrestle me to the ground. And so then I asked my 5-year-old, hey, can mommy borrow your toolbox? And he said, if I bring it back, and no one's allowed to touch his tools. So just nobody can touch them. But the reason I'm bringing the toolbox is just more for a visual, for us to think about. Because our toolboxes are so important. And I'm not telling everybody to go out and get a toolbox. It can be a bag, it doesn't matter. It's just the toolbox you create. But think about what a toolbox does for us. If we want to do something, if we want to fix something, we need the right tool. We have our toolbox. So we go and we get our hammer because we're going to need a tool to do it. Well, we may need a hammer to fix something on the house, fix something on a wall. I use tools as an example. I don't always know the right thing to say about them. But I know you can use a hammer, to hang things. So you have your tool. But if you're going to maybe fix your toilet, you might not use your hammer. Wrong tool. But we need to be building our toolbox of things that are important during our mentoring relationship so we can be successful. Because that's really what the toolbox is for. It's for people to be successful in whatever they're trying to do. If they're trying to build something, if they're trying to fix something, this is their success. My husband does this for a living. He builds, he remodels, he does all of that kind of stuff. And so he convinces me all the time that he needs new tools because it's the right tool. Anybody else like that? Like they say, oh, I need this other tool. And you're like, but you have 6 of those. And he's like, yeah, but that's not the right thing. This is the tool I need for this item. And so I say, okay, and then I go buy shoes. Because, I give the same example when he says, why do you need so many shoes? Because it's not the right one. It doesn't work. So we need our tools. We're going to actually, you have a handout there too, that you're going to build your toolbox while we're here today. I'm going to give you some ideas and things for you to do, but what I don't want you to write in your toolbox is just the general idea that I'm giving you. I want you to think specifically, and I'll give you a couple minutes when we go through these, think specifically about a tool. Like you just wouldn't say, I need a tool here, but I need a hammer, I need a screwdriver. So you're going to write specifically the kind of tool that you're going to need to be successful in your mentoring relationship. The first thing, we got to know our tools. And, that would be the education on if I went through and told you that there are, I don't even know, 20 kinds of hammers. I have no idea. But if I gave you an education on these tools, you would know there's different ones for different things. So in mentoring, we need to look at the tools that we have available. What are we going to want in this toolkit? We're going to want things like a plan, and we're going to want books, and we're going to want articles, and we're going to want websites. We're going to want things that is going to help us move forward in either relationship. And so I want you to keep kind of going back and forth. And a lot of times in mentoring, we'll talk about one side or the other, being a great mentor, or what to do as a mentee. But my talk is really like you flip to both sides. Flip on the both sides of that sandwich. And so these tools are going to be useful either way. One of the things I loved the keynote that she said this morning is that we need to think of our mentoring relationships like this. Everybody hear that? Like it's not an up to down anymore, but it's very much a process of kind of a peer-to-peer, even if your mentor is not necessarily your peer, but we look at it more that way. So these tools should be interchangeable for whatever works. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our plan. Before we jump into any mentoring relationship, anything that we do, we need to have a plan, like our personal plan. What is it we are trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? And I know like you hear that sometimes and you think, well, I'm trying to do a good job, or I'm trying to do this. But truly, what is the plan for what you're trying to accomplish? And do you have a way that you're keeping track of that plan? Do you have an actual plan in place? Are you writing it down? I'm going to just share mine because it's what I do, but there's millions out there. I mean, you can Google setting goals, setting plans, that kind of thing. But I use this program called Cultivate What Matters, and I put a picture of it up there. But it is really developing your life plan, and it's yearly. And you're developing, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want it to be? And I was very lucky to get to go to this conference just a few weeks ago, so it worked really well. I went to a conference in North Carolina based on this plan, and the person in charge of this made a really good point, and she said, where do you want to be when you're 80? And that has really stuck with me. She's like, where do you want to be when you're 80, and what are you doing now that makes that a reality? I'm like, wow. And I know there's probably some of you that 80 seems like really, really, really old. It all of a sudden doesn't seem that old. I don't know. It's like it's getting really close. But what are you doing to make those goals a reality? And are you putting something into place every month, every week, every day that's going to make that a reality? So I really got thinking about that. And this is going to help in your mentoring because you have to know where you're going. Think again about a directional map. If you tell somebody, I want to drive to South Dakota, okay, well, they're going to give you a map. They're going to give you directions to get there. But if you just said, hey, I want to drive somewhere, it's going to be really hard for them to give you directions. So think of that in mentoring also. If you're not sure what you want to do, it's going to be really hard to go into a mentor-mentee and say, yeah, I don't really know. Don't really know what I want to do, but hey, can you help me get there? I would look at you like, okay, well, I'm not really sure where to start with that. So you have to know your plan. And are you writing them down? Are you keeping track of them? And some people say, well, I don't want to write my plan down. I've heard this from some people I mentor. I don't want to write my plan down because what if it changes? Okay, you scribble it out and you write it again. You know, it's okay. Use pencil if it makes you feel better. It's okay. You can change the goals, but you still need to have them written down. You still need to have a goal now, today, written down of where you want to go. And so they can be fluid. It's fine. But remember, this is going to be the thing that's going to help you figure out who can help me get there. Because you want to know where you're going, and then you can say, you know what? Okay, I want to be a college president. All right, well then I need to figure out who are the people I need to surround myself with that could potentially lead me to that. I'm not saying I want to be, that was an example. In case Denise is here, I don't want to take her job or anything, so I don't know if she's here. So make sure that you're writing them down, keeping them visible. The thing that I do with this guide, which is called Power Sheets, is that sits on my desk and I have it opened up and I look at it. I look at it regularly to make sure what I'm doing matters and what I'm doing is going to get me to where I want to go. And I share it with my mentors. So that's the first thing we need to do. Then, after you know where you're going, then you can start identifying who can help you get there. Because now you have a plan of, I want to be the college president. I want to get a promotion at work. I want to do this. And then you can start looking at it and saying, who are some people I can identify to ask to do that? If you're looking for a mentor. And then what you need to think about is, what do I bring to the table that could help somebody else? When you're getting to this point, because after you've done your goals, it's okay. You're thinking about where you want to go, and that's fine. But also think about where you are now, because that's part of what my plan does, is says, where are you right now? And what story do you have that could help somebody else? Who else could you share this with? And it doesn't always have to be a business relationship, and we'll talk about that in a few slides, but remember that. It doesn't always have to be all about business. Sometimes people need to be mentored on other things. I mean, I have somebody I'm mentoring right now that we have completely different careers, we have completely different kind of life paths, but she needs to know the thing about the children because she's struggling. And so I'm mentoring her through a very difficult season of her life, and sometimes that just means letting her cry and talking her through it. So after you understand your goals, then you can move on. Then in your toolbox, you also want your mentoring contract. Yes, I'm a business professor. Yes, I like contracts. If that word scares you and makes you want to scream and run out the door, I'm sorry. I like them. They make things, nice and neat. So, contracts, and I have an example for you in your packet. But you want to develop this contract, not because it has to be so ridiculously formal, but a contract just helps everyone know where you are. It just sets things up for success. Because you all, mentor and mentee relationships do not have to last till the end of time. They just don't. They can end, and it's okay. You can move on. Some of the people that were up in my mentoring pictures, I don't talk to anymore. I mean, every once in a while I'll run into or say hi, but we don't have a relationship like we used to, and that's okay because it was this purpose in this season of life. So you develop this contract to just help everybody kind of understand. So you're able to go to somebody and say, you know what? I've really looked at my goals and I have figured out I want to get here. I want to do this. And I really think you can help me get there. And here's what I'm hoping to accomplish, because you've already thought this out and you've already made a plan. And you say, I would really love to ask you to be my mentor for 12 months. And I would like to meet with you once a month, once a quarter, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be a daily thing, but it sets things up for the expectations. And one of the things that I put on kind of a new mentoring contract, because it's something I had to figure out just a few years ago, is set expectations up front for, okay, is it okay if they text you at 2 in the morning? because some people like to do that. I sleep at 2 in the morning. I don't know about you, but I sleep, and I'm not going to answer you at 2 in the morning. So you just set that up front. You probably have done this with other things and had students do different kinds of contracts, and it just helps you. The other thing that we need to do now is set up expectations on social media. Make sure you understand, does your mentor or mentee, are you going to connect on Facebook? Are you going to connect on Instagram? And it's better to just say it then. I mean, I've said to people before, especially students, I'll say, you know what? Here's how I like to connect. I would love you to connect with me on LinkedIn, on my social media. I don't connect outside of that other than, with close family and friends. Or I'll say, my Instagram is open to anybody. Feel free, you can go do it. But it just sets expectations right there, and feelings don't get hurt when you get the friend request and you're like, oh yeah, no, I don't want them to know what I'm doing on weekends, or I don't want them to know all my life. So just set that up. And then you want to set up a space. And when I say a space, it can be really anything. If you want a Google Doc that you both share, it's a great idea. Things where you can go in and put things. Some people, I've seen them set up, little websites for themselves. I mean, there's so many different things, and that's about where my technology skills end. But I have set up Google Docs with people I mentor because we can go share stuff. Like I find an article title, and I just think, oh, I need to tell them about that. And I just dump it in the Google Doc. And it's like, hey, we'll talk about this later, but here's this article I want you to see, or something I want you to think about. So set up some space that you both have access to and you both can share that is just a dumping place for ideas, for thoughts, for things that you want to get around to at some point. And then make sure you set up this action plan with your mentor or mentee. And I've got a copy of that on the back of the contract. And again, business professor, goals, all that stuff. I had to throw SMART goals in there because that's what we do. And so when you're setting these goals up, but it again just gives everybody expectations of when you meet. And in your toolkit, you have this and you say, here's what I would like to accomplish. And here's what, here's how you can help me. What are the action steps that we're both going to do? Am I going to get back with you next week? Are we going to do this together? Are you going to invite me here? But having this action plan just helps everybody on the same page, and sharing that in that space where you both have access and you can kind of cross things off. Just a great idea to keep everybody going. Okay, so a little toolkit check-in here. Give you a second. But on your toolkit, think about any kind of personal planning system that you can use. And anything that you want to find out more about doing your personal plan, write that. Not just a personal plan, like come up with an idea. Mentoring space, mentoring contract. You can write those down, and even if you need to write, contract with Susie or something, just to say, hey, this is something that we can set up. And again, I don't want the contract to scare you. You can change the word. You can say it's a mentoring agreement. It's a mentoring hug, whatever you want to call it. But just make sure you cover those things. Give you 1 second. Make sure everybody has something written down. Okay, so what else do we need in our toolkit? We've got a hammer, but we can't have a toolkit with just a hammer. We got to have more tools in there to be successful and make sure that we are ready for our mentoring. Other tools that you want in your mentoring toolkit: books, articles, things that will help you both grow. Again, this is not the chance for the mentor to say, you know what, because I am smart and I am established and accomplished, and I'm going to tell you the books you need to read. No. The mentee could come in and say, you know what? I want to read this book. I heard about it, and I would love to read this book. Would you read it with me? Push yourself outside of boundaries. One of the ones that I'm reading, again, I told you I'm sort of just set up a new mentoring relationship with a friend, and one of the books we're reading is Traction, again, business, but we're reading it together because she owns her own business. I teach about business, and we're kind of seeing what information comes out of this that we can both share, and what does it look like from both sides, because I don't own a thriving business like she does right now, and she doesn't teach it, so we both get this out of. And I'm the one that told her. I said, I want to read this. Will you read it with me? And she's like, absolutely. Hadn't even thought about it. So have books. It doesn't have to be business books. And I put little fires everywhere only because it was the last book I read that was just for fun. But it's okay. Maybe you're reading too much business books. Maybe that's all you're doing, and you need to widen your circle a little bit. So maybe you and your mentor read a fun book together. Like, hey, both of us need to kind of lighten up, read some fiction. If you haven't read a fiction book in 10 years because you're too busy, now's the time. Read it with somebody. So have some books in your toolkit. Have some ideas of things that you want to read. If you don't know titles, if you're like, you know what, I don't really know a title of this, but I want to learn more about personality profiles. Okay, write that down. I want to write, and then find books on that, and then work to read those. And do it that both of you can learn. Because again, the relationship is here. It's not just one or the other. Look at where both of you are on either side and say, well, what can I bring to this that they can't? What can I share that they can't? And then be able to talk about it. And in the contract, remember, you're going to talk about it, and in your goals, you're going to talk about when's that done. Because the worst thing is, hey, we should read this book together. This book would be great. We should read it together. And then you go meet with them again, and you see it buried somewhere, like in the pile, and you think, oh, yeah, they're not reading that, and you're really excited. So that can hurt feelings. You don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that everybody is on the same page as to when you're going to read the book. Articles. Find articles, find magazines that you can both read. Find things that you can stick into that Google Doc that is something you can bring up and talk about later. And bring up things like, again, push yourselves. Think outside of what you normally do. Because it's fun, right? When you learn something new and you think, I never thought of it that way. And some of the things I learn from the people I mentor, usually it's stuff like social media that I'm like, did that even exist? I didn't know you swipe left and swipe right to date anymore. I had no idea what that was until a student told me about it. And so you push yourself to learn new and exciting things that you can use on the flip side. Because what's really fun is if you learn this with your mentor and then you can spread it to your mentee. Think of how many people are going to be impacted if you're just able to share this information. Another thing, in our toolbox, I don't know what else is in there. I'm not allowed to touch the tools. And so what else do we need? We need networking opportunities. We need networking. We need different things. I just put up a few. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds. But find great networking opportunities. How many of you invited somebody here today with you? How many? Anybody embarrassed? Like nobody wants to say. Okay. So think about it. I mean, you could invite somebody to come to something like this with you. Hey, I'm going to Utah Women in Higher Education. Would you like to come with me? And bring them to networking, whether it's your mentor or your mentee. Bring them to something. Or as a mentee, maybe you're saying, you know what? I know I need to get into a community organization. I don't know how to do that. I'm pretty afraid to go do that. What do you suggest? And you say, hey, you know what? I'm in Rotary, and I'm going to invite you. And I'm going to bring you, and I'm going to put that on our list of action items that I'm going to invite you to the next meeting and make sure that I let them know you're coming. And the thing to think about, whether you're one way or the other, in mentoring, if you invite somebody somewhere, stay with them. Don't bring them, invite them, and then lose them and go, okay, see you at the end of the day. I mean, it's okay like at this if people want to go to different sessions, but I mean, there are some people that you tell them, hey, we're going to a conference where there's 400 women, and they would just lose all color in their face, right? I'm not going where there's 400 people of anybody. I don't care. And I'm sorry, men too. Women and men. I'm being totally wrong here. But yeah, they just kind of like lose it. And so you don't want to say, hey, come with me, and then you guys grab breakfast and then you don't see them again. Check in with them. Hey, be back here in an hour. Let's check in on your sessions. Let's meet for lunch, see how sessions are going. And that's okay if you're the mentee saying it to the mentor. Like, hey, I know you don't know anybody here, but let me introduce you to some people, and then let's connect at lunch to make sure. Because it's not going to be a good tool if it's not used correctly. Again, if I use my hammer to work on the toilet, it's not going to be used correctly. And it's not going to be a useful tool. It's going to be useless at that point. So make sure. And you're revisiting your goals. all the time. You're going back to your plan of what is this doing? How is this going? Where is this getting me? What do I want to do? And I don't want that to sound selfish. I don't want it to sound like, well, what is this getting me? I want it to sound positive in the, is this useful? Is this something? Because you know what, y'all? We have 24 hours. Everybody has 24 hours. And we want to make sure we're using them in the best possible way. We don't want to be using them, in ways that aren't just helpful for everybody. So I don't want it to sound selfish. Okay, some more tool check-in. So read a book. Think of some books you might want to read. Think of topics that you might want to read. Again, if you're in, I'm in business and I know little to almost nothing about science. And then I hear some of my science colleagues talk, I'm like, wow, that sounds really cool. I wouldn't even know what book to go look for. Find them, ask them. Say, hey, you said something about genetics, something or another. Can you tell me what that is? And find a book on it. So write an interest down. Article, if you know of any articles that you can put in your toolbox right when you leave here or next week when you get back to the office, think of some articles. And then community meetings. What are some community meetings you would like to be a part of? And if you don't know, if you're not sure like what's out there, if you don't know what goes on at the chamber, if you don't know what goes on at UWHEN, if you don't know, ask somebody and just say, I want to join, I want to get more active in my community. And how do I do that? So some other business or some other toolbox things that I want you to be aware of is, like I said a little bit ago, it does not always have to be business related. It can be other things. I mean, maybe your goals are you work too much. I mean, maybe you're working 12 hours a day and you're like, you know what? I need some work-life balance here. I need to get home before 8 o'clock. What do I need to do that? You and your mentor or mentee need to talk about that and say, maybe this is a goal of 3 nights a week, I am going to leave my office at 6 o'clock, which is a win for you. So put that in there. Maybe it's your health. This one was big for me. I hit a serious health issue back in November and had a doctor just kind of look me in the eye and say, if this, this is bad. You got to fix this. And it's something you don't want to share with people. You don't want to go out and say, hey, guess what? My blood pressure, I'm about to stroke. This is a good thing. But I had to do that. I finally had to tell somebody and my mentor that, hey, this is a serious issue and this is bad and it's going to kill me if I don't do something about it. And so now I get really annoying emails every week from Dan, the guy I showed you, asking me what my blood pressure is. I mean, seriously, really annoying. I'm like, dude, we're good now. I've got it down. But I mean, like every week he sends, I think he's got it on a timer or something. I don't know. But every week he sends me, what's your blood pressure? And I send it back. And it's just a good checkpoint. So that was a mentoring relationship that I had to keep going with that. It can be healthy eating. It can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't just have to be, I want a promotion. I want to succeed in this role. It can be life. Because a mentor, remember, is there for life, not just for certain business goals. They're there to help you with getting success in the way that you see success, which is coming out of your plan of how do you see success, and they're going to help you get there. This is not a friendship. This is not somebody that's going to hug you and say, oh, I'm sorry your blood pressure is at stroke level, and yeah, it was nice knowing you, love you, bye. I mean, no, these people can look at you and say, well, you know what, that sucks. You better do something about that. You're screwing that up pretty bad. I mean, these are relationships that you put out there of they can say these things. Nobody else could. If somebody else said that, I have friends that are out there. If they said that to me, I probably would have said, hey, back off. But he can tell me, that I'm being crazy. It might be positive quotes. It might be in your toolbox. You might have once a week positive quotes of things that are going to help you in your success. I know one of the positive quotes I have in my toolbox for mentoring and mentee, and I tell both all the time, is one of my favorites is busy is the enemy of peace. And I love that because we always say we're busy. Everybody says we're busy. And it's like, you know what? Busy is not a badge of honor. And so I try really hard to not even use that word very much and I tell my mentees, don't tell me how busy you are. You're making choices. They're your choices, but let's not talk about just busy all the time. And so maybe it's quotes that you just want to have and talk about and have as part of your relationship, and when you talk about all the time. So whenever I talk to my mentees, I say that. I'm like, okay, how's our busy factor? And see what they're doing and see what's going on with them. So it can be beyond business in our toolkit. Then the last thing that we need to think about is evaluating our mentor relationship, mentee relationship. That needs to be in our toolkit. How will we evaluate this relationship? How will we decide it was successful? How will we say, yeah, that worked, that was good, we did this, we didn't do this? It doesn't have to be like a formal sit-down 360-degree evaluation. It just needs to be, how are you going to decide when these things have come to pass? How will you transition out of a mentor relationship? Don't let that be awkward. If you all said that you're going to do 12 months, when it comes around to that 12 months, it's kind of like, hey, you know, we've accomplished these goals, we've done these things, you know, now we're going to transition out of this regular meeting time. Doesn't mean you can never speak to them again or go see them in their office. Just means the formal relationship is over and you're moving on. And so how will you look at that and say, this was a success? Or in my next mentoring relationship, I might do this a little differently. I might try this instead. And so you want to make sure you evaluate. So let's do our final toolkit check-in here and see. So you see all the things, and this is your actual toolkit. If I could have bought everybody toolkits, I would have. I actually was trying to look for hammers that were the little stress balls. Those things are really expensive. Sorry, I love you guys, but this wasn't going to happen. And so now this is your toolkit. So I want you to look beyond business. What is something in your toolkit that you need that isn't going to be business related? It isn't going to be, I want to read a book or do this or get a promotion. What's something else that you need to think about? And then what's a way you can evaluate? Maybe it's a talk. Maybe it's going out, you know, just going out for lunch or whatever. However you're going to evaluate the relationship, this is the time to think about doing that. And so write that down on your check-in. Everybody should have a toolkit now almost full. Then we're gonna giggle a little bit here as we talk about mentoring, because it's a mentoring conference and this one's pretty funny. Our CEO's son is joining the department as an intern. I want you to be his mentor. And by mentor, I mean don't let that little spy learn anything about us. If he finds out what we do, he'll tell his dad we're doing it wrong. Here's a list of compliments you can give him. Tell him his assignment is to go someplace and study cool motorcycles. If he asks more than 3 questions, kill him. Where's my desk? That's one. So as we think about, in your toolkit, you can have fun stuff. You can have fun comics. You can have things that make you laugh. Mentoring doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be sitting across the desk and going, what do you think today? How do you think I should handle this? Laugh. Have a good time. Joke. Talk about the dumb thing you did last week. I mean, it's okay. This is the time to share. So make sure that you're having a giggle now and then. So, can I answer any questions? And if you yell, I can probably hear them. Yes, ma'am. You know, I just had that asked not that long ago. A mentor and a coach, they can be very similar. And I think coaching now is more the walking alongside on a regular basis, and this is my interpretation, only because I see business coaches out there now, and then business mentors. I think coaching is just a better word for it. And when we think about a coach and what a coach does, you know, a coach is more there with the regular progress, where a mentor might be more of a check-in kind of thing. You know, the coach doesn't just come in and check on the football team once a month. They're there every day. And so that's the way I look at the difference. Now, other people, if you're a coach, you might go, oh, that's so wrong, but it's just my personal thoughts. I have, on all of your handouts, I have my email address. And again, as you heard, I'm getting ready to do a cross-country move soon, so I have a personal email address up there. But if you have any questions or anything that I can answer for you about building your toolkit, please feel free to email me anytime, and I am happy to share any thoughts I have on it. And thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day.